1. My mother's side of the family lives in Japan. Since I lived abroad ever since I was a child, I haven't met my grandmother in a long, long time. I am closer to my paternal grandmother. Anyways, my grandma has always been afraid of flying, so she hasn't traveled abroad in 10+ years, but this year, she decided to come visit us because her time is running out. She was supposed to come to the airport, and my mom was supposed to pick her up. However, some other important issues came up, and my mom had to travel to a different city for 2 days. So instead, I went to pick up my grandma from the airport. Note, we can't communicate with one another directly because she doesn't speak English and I suck at Japanese. I waited at the airport for 2 hours prior to her arrival time because I was nervous as fuck. All I had was a recent photograph of her and her phone number in case I can't find her. People arrived, and I kept waiting for an old Asian lady with snow-white hair to come out. I tried calling her phone number, but it seemed like she ran out of battery or intentionally turned it off. After all, she's not tech-savvy, and she barely manages to dial her phone number because she's very old. 80s, approaching 90. From the terminal, I saw an Asian lady come out. She had white hair, and looked exactly like the lady in the photograph I'm holding. I assumed it's my grandma, so I approached her, and said welcome in my super broken Japanese. She responded very kindly and said something I can't understand. I told her in English that we'll talk more when my mom's around to translate. I offered to take her luggage, and we walked out together. We got home, and I fixed my grandma some food and showed her to my brother's empty room. I assumed she must be tired, so I left her to be. Roughly 3 to 4 hours later, my mom called me and asked why I haven't gone to pick up grandma. I asked her, "What the fuck are you talking about, because she's here with me?" And I snapped a photo and sent it to mom. Then she told me that the lady isn't our nana. Apparently, my grandma had arrived at the airport but didn't fill out the paperwork, so it took her an extra 30 minutes to get out. She waited for me at the airport. She also didn't pack her charger in her luggage, and her phone had run out of battery. So she asked other Japanese passengers to help her call her daughter, aka my mom. After she waited at the airport all alone for 3 hours. After talking to grandma, my mom called me in a panic. Anyways, I went back to the airport to pick up my real grandma, and she gave me a hug. I came back and talked to my fake grandma by having my mom translate our conversation via phone call. She was just an old lady from Japan, whose family signed her up for a spa getaway retreat after her husband passed away, and thought I was from the agency to pick her up. I asked which resort she booked, saw her itinerary papers, and drove her to the place she signed up for. Before she left, my real grandma, fake grandma, and I had a mini supper, and I apologized for causing major confusion. Before I dropped off my fake grandma at the resort, she tipped me. 2. A couple years ago, I was sitting in my parents' living room playing Fallout 3 on my laptop. I had my headphones on for the immersion factor. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Mother waving to get my attention. I remove my headphones. "What's up?" "I'm heading to the store to get a few things. Shouldn't be long." "Alright, have fun." "Thanks, you too." I put my headphones back on and return to post-nuclear bliss. Time passes. I procure many things, shoot many faces, and pal around with dog meat. What a swell time. The only part of me not immersed in the game is my nose. It catches a strange smell, faint but noticeable. I ignore it. After playing a little longer, the smell gets much, much worse, evolving from unpleasant scent to awful stench. I glance up from my laptop and find I am sitting amidst a soupy grey haze. My house was on fire. Shoot! Shoot! No! The house wasn't actually on fire, but that was my first thought. I leapt from the couch, after pausing the game of course, and summoned my inner firefighter, dashing out of the living room, and immediately found the culprit. A small pot atop the stove. channeling Mount Doom and spewing its choking fumes into the air. I approached the pot in a mix of relief my house was not on fire, and panic. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It smells and looks horrible. Whatever my mom had been cooking was now a black and brown bubbling mess. I stand there shaking, quickly developing a plan of action and expecting the smoke alarms to go off any second and give me a heart attack. Now, I'm generally a smart guy. I'd maintained a very high GPA in college, computer science, before I dropped out, earning a 4.02 out of the 4 semesters I finished. However, when met with unexpected situations that put me out of my comfort zone, I experienced a severe loss of common sense. So in my current hysteria, I picked up the pot off the stove, set it in the sink, and turned on the faucet full blast. Then my common sense returned. Oh shit. Pop, 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 pop. I slowly blinked open my eyes and found my glasses were covered in brownish black spots. It was on my face, it was in my beard. My hoodie was covered in the stuff. Better that than my bare arms, though. I looked around with wide eyes. Everything, and I mean everything, was covered in molten whatever it was. The window behind the sink, the curtains, the cabinets, the oven, the island, the dishwasher. There were spots on the floor clear across our decently large kitchen. I look up, the once white ceiling looking very much like a Dalmatian. I'll cut the rest short since this post has already exceeded 2,000 characters. I called my mom. She was all beside herself for leaving butter on the stove. Opened the windows. The smoke alarms never went off through this whole adventure, and reintroduced my smoky lungs to fresh air. My mom got back, and after apologizing over and over, we spent the next few hours cleaning, laughing and marveling at how difficult it was to clean this stuff off. I ended up having to fetch the Swiffer and mop the ceiling. My sister got home from school and we had a good story to tell. All in all, it was actually kind of fun. We must have done a good job cleaning too, as my dad never found out until we told him a couple months later. Everyone loves this story when I tell it, so I figured I'd share it with you all. Hope it made your day a little brighter. 3. My girlfriend and I were sick and congested. We were sitting on the couch and she said she was going to take a bath and put in eucalyptus oil and peppermint oil. She then asked me if I wanted to join. Sure. Laying in a hot bath sounded really nice. She went downstairs to grab our towels and I started the bath. As I put the oils in, I yelled asking how much I should put in. I got the answer of only a little bit. Apparently, our definitions of a little bit are different. I don't know if you know how strong peppermint oil is, but I should be able to paint a picture. As we climbed in the hot bath, I realized that my asshole was starting to feel like an ice cube was getting shoved up it. In my congested, mentally drained from illness mind, I said, "Hey babe, hot water rises, right?" Right away she looked back at me and screamed, "How much fucking peppermint oil did you put in?" I said I turned it upside down and maybe like 10 drops got out. So we jumped out, my body covered in water with peppermint. It burned like icy hot. My balls were on fire. My girlfriend starts crying from the pain and is screaming. I'm in the fetal position, trying to wipe water off my balls. I then get the idea of jumping in the shower and seeing if getting the peppermint oil off me was possible. Nope. Makes it much worse. Fast forward 10 minutes, we are curled up on the couch, both covered in multiple blankets trying to get warm. It wears off in my girlfriend, and she says she just feels numb, but it doesn't hurt anymore. Takes me an extra 15 minutes for it to stop hurting. The heat from the blankets warmed me, but it felt like I had ice under my skin. Half an hour later, it went away. And that's why I am not allowed to draw our baths anymore. 4. So I've always been kind of a klutz, saying things I shouldn't and whatnot. This story took place the day before Christmas when I was around 16 years old. I was going through a phase where everything was embarrassing. This day I spent with my mom and sisters at my mother's boyfriend's family home, with all of his relatives. I never felt completely relaxed with these relatives, but it was a new tradition to come to them the day before Christmas and exchange gifts and whatnot. This day I had my period, and after a while I needed to use the bathroom to change tampon. So I went to the bathroom, pulled out the used tampon filled with blood, and wrapped it up in toilet paper. I finished my business and flushed. I took the wrapped tampon and started looking for a waste bin. And to my horror, I realized I couldn't find any. The toilet had a bad flush, and me being terrified of clogging the toilet and making this matter worse, decided to throw the tampon in some other bin. I knew there was one in the kitchen, but everyone else was in the kitchen. So throwing the used bloody tampon wrapper and paper in the kitchen meant walking proudly with it in my hand past everybody. And I specifically remembered a handsome older cousin to my mom's boyfriend. That made the matter even more embarrassing. By the way, the tampon was too big to hide in my small, stupidly girly hands, and every girl hearing this knows that if I would have squeezed the tampon inside a pocket on my pants, the blood would have poured out. So I would have had to walk with it in my hand to the waste bin in the kitchen, passing everyone else. And in my childish, embarrassed of everything 16-year-old mind, that felt awful. Thinking that everyone would know what was in the wrapped toilet paper. I mean, what would you think? Wrapped tampon or a piece of poop is the only thing I could imagine if I saw someone with wrapped toilet paper like my little ball of shame was. So I decided it was too embarrassing to take the walk of shame to the kitchen. Then I got a clever idea. The toilet was beside the hallway, and no one could see me there. I could hide the bloody tampon in the pockets of my jacket and then throw it out when I was at my mother's place again. Great idea. I snuck out in the hallway, grabbed my jacket, and stuffed the tampon in one of the pockets. Everything was fine. No embarrassment for me. The night passed along without any more incident, and we had a lovely evening. We then took the car to drive home about 100 kilometers. We stopped at a store about halfway home, and I decided to sneak my trash in one of the bins outside of the store. But to my horror, I couldn't find the tampon anywhere. I looked through all my pockets and finally realized that I must have put the bloody tampon in somebody else's jacket. I told the story to my family, who laughed a lot. And my mother's boyfriend was kind enough to tell me that the only one beside me that had a black jacket was his handsome younger cousin. So, to this day, I have never told this story to my mother's boyfriend's family, and neither has he, to my knowledge. I don't know what happened next, but one thing is for sure. One person, probably the handsome cousin, one day found a bloody tampon in his pocket, and it was mine. 5. I'm 19, and I've always been interested in escape artists, and like the challenge that they typically face, so I thought it would be a great idea to try my hand at it. I work overnight, so on my off days I can stay up all night and do what I want, and decided to take one night and see if I can get myself in a hopeless situation and manage to escape. I went to Home Depot and got some duct tape and rope and ordered police handcuffs on Amazon a few weeks back, so I had everything I felt I needed to give this a shot. I still live with my parents, so doing anything in the house is extra risky, so I decided to make it extra kidnapping-esque and do it in my car, trunk specifically. I'm 6'2" and I have a Toyota Camry, so there's not a lot of space to work with, but I'll make do. Now it's 2 AM and it's freezing, but I'm in a car, so not a huge ordeal. Plus, I don't expect I'll be outside very long. I settle down in my car and plan out how I'll make my escape. Key to the cuffs in the front seat, and 30 minutes on the clock. I leave my phone in the trunk, which is running the timer. So I tied my ankles and knees together and added a blindfold and gag because I was confident in myself. Lastly, I click the handcuffs down, loosely, and begin to make moves towards the front. The back seats have been folded down so I can wiggle out of the trunk and into the actual inside of the car. As I crawl into the back seat area, I accidentally sit on my hands and tighten the cuffs, a lot tighter than originally planned. I can't see anything, so the blind search for a really small key begins. And a few minutes pass and I find it. As I try to place the key into the very awkwardly placed keyhole, I struggle to get the key in the right position, and get quite frustrated about it, and drop the key. For all I know, it's lost. Even if I didn't blindfold myself, I wouldn't find it with how dark it is. Panic sets in after the 30-minute alarm goes off and the cuffs are irritating my skin. So I manage back into the trunk, partially to hide myself, and figure out what my next move is. I got lucky, and after rubbing my head on the wall, I get the blindfold off, and can locate my phone. So I could have called my parents or siblings and had them come and help me out, but I knew I'd never hear the end of it. So I played it safe and texted my friend, who I knew was awake, and asked her to come over and help me out. All I told her was I was in a situation and needed her help. What felt like an hour passes, and I hear her car pull up, and I text her. Would talk to her, but she wouldn't understand what I'm saying. To come to my car. Luckily for me, the windows were fogged up, so she can't see how stupid I looked. Anyway, my door's auto-locked, and my keys are inside the house. So I ask her to brave the possibility my dad hears her coming in, and blasts her away with a shotgun or something, and go find my keys, which should be in my room, which is just a long-ass walk away on the creakiest floors on this side of Mississippi. As she's inside retrieving my keys, I sit fidgeting and discover a secret in my back pocket. The spare key to the handcuffs. Fuck me sideways. I'm an idiot. After a few deep breaths, I calm down and slowly ease the key into the awkward keyhole and manage to turn it enough to free one hand and then the other. And before she returns, I was free and found. She comes back outside and opens my car door to see me laying down across my back seat, looking as tired as ever, and asks why I had her come over in such a hurry. I thought about lying to her. I made up a story that I couldn't get out of my car without the panic alarm going off, but I told her the truth and she laughed like most people would. It's almost 4 a.m. at this point, and I was ready to disappear from civilization. But my friend was very nice and promised to keep it a secret, in exchange for some food and some booze, which I was happy to give. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 24. I want to say thank you very much to everyone who shared their stories with me this week. And one of those was actually a subscriber story, the tampon one, that was sent by one of my lovely subscribers. It is a busy weekend I've got ahead of me. No one to blame but myself. I decided I wanted to record... well, screw it, I may as well just tell you. I'm recording A Christmas Carol. I've already got Stave 1, Chapter 1. I've already got that recorded, and I'll get to work on the rest of it over the next couple of days. I'll do my editing and putting together on Monday, and if I've still got time on Monday, I'll get that uploaded when it's all ready. I'm still trying to work out how I want the spirits to sound. I mean, you've got 3 of them. Well, one of them doesn't really talk, but 2 of them do, and well, we'll see. Well, you'll hear it when it goes up if you want to listen to it. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually just about set for Christmas. I just need to get some wrapping paper. I do actually have wrapping paper there, but I've been using the same roll of wrapping paper, because it was a big one, for about 8 years now, maybe 9. That's how big it was. So I should probably get something a bit different this year. I'll pick something up when I'm out. And I've got most of the food and that in. I'll I'll have to buy a very, very important bags of chocolate and things. Essential I have those. And all the other bits and bobs. I need to get fresh veg, I think. I think that's about it. And then I'm set for Christmas Day. And probably Boxing Day too, because I like to have Bubble and Squeak the next day with all the leftovers. If you've never heard of that, I'm sure most of you have. It's just when you mix all your leftovers together, all your mash, your veg, and your meat, if you're eating meat, mix it all together, fry it up, and I like to fry it so it's a little bit slightly charred, just a teeny weeny bit, and then obviously put fresh gravy on that if you're in the mood. And I'm sure I'll likely still have cake left, I've still to pick one out. I've got a sneaking suspicion it will involve chocolate of some kind. Don't know why, I just get that feeling. Okay, so I think I'd better stop prattling on and head off now and actually continue with the rest of this work. So I'll go get editing. Okay, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.